Paratmanamekam jagadbijamadyam niriham nirakaram onkar vidyam yato jayate palyate yena vishvam tamisham bhaje liyate yatra vishvam. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dear devotees, so in the last class, we had finished the verses of the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And today, we shall summarize the entire chapter. And the most interesting part of this whole deliberation is that whichever chapter of Bhagavad Gita you study, for the time being it seems or it will make us feel as if this is the most beautiful chapter. Every chapter of Bhagavad Gita has got this speciality. You take up any particular chapter, when we studied 15th, for the time being it made us feel as if this is the most beautiful, most illuminating. 13th, the same feeling. 7th, 8th, 9th. The same thing I have seen even with the Upanishads also. Whichever Upanishad you take to investigate into, for the time being, literally you will feel that this is the best. That is the importance of what these scriptures deal with. These scriptures, they tell us the plain truth. The truth about my nature, the truth about your nature, the truth about this world, so-called world. I have to use the term so-called world, which we are experiencing through our senses. And what can be more fascinating than that? Now in this 9th chapter of the Gita, the most beautiful, I would say, let me just sum up the entire 9th chapter in 2 words. Then I'll go into the details of it in the next 35-40 minutes. The entire 9th chapter can be summed up in 2 words, where Sri Krishna had stated, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana pariupasate. In this verse, 2 verses, 2 words Sri Krishna had used. Ananyas chintanam. Ananya. Ananya means the absence of anything other than Ishvara. Ananya. No anya. Anya means the other. Absence of anything other than Ishvara or Parabrahman. This chintanam, to be holding on to this drishti. And then, now this is jnanam, pure jnanam. Ananya drishti is pure jnanam. And this jnanam expressing itself in the form of pari-upasanam means bhakti. Upasana means worship. But worship not only in one place, in one form, but pari-upasanam. Pari means everywhere. These 2 words sum up the whole of the 9th chapter. In fact, it sums up the whole of Vedas itself. It sums up the whole of the Upanishadic wisdom itself. Sri Krishna is saying, develop this ananya drishti. Exactly the words are the same as what Sri Ramakrishna said. Tie the knowledge of Advaita to the corner of your cloth. Means develop this ananya drishti. there is nothing existing apart from Ishvara or Brahman. And then lead your life. How will you lead your life? You will be worshipping the divine in all the forms, pari upasanam. Tie the knowledge of Advaita to the corner of your cloth, and then lead your life of bhakti, a perfect blend of highest knowledge and bhakti. This is what Sri Krishna referred to as Raja Vidya and Raja Guhyam. This 9th chapter is titled as Raja Vidya. This is the greatest Vidya or the sovereign, supreme knowledge. There is nothing beyond. After this, there is nothing left out. Is there anything left out to be told? The chapter is over. This is the supreme vision which Sri Krishna is bestowing on us. Upanishads are bestowing on us. Sri Krishna is only a deliverer. He is only conveying the wisdom of Upanishads to us. He is the Dogdha. Dogdha means a milker. That is how Krishna is described. He is the milker of the cow of Upanishads. So if Upanishads is the cow, Sri Krishna is the milker who is milking that cream, the wisdom of the Upanishads. And what is the wisdom of the Upanishads? Ananyas Chintanam. There is no second entity apart from Ishvara or Brahman. That's all. And when this drishti comes in our life will be then pari upasanam. It will be like worshipping God not in one form, not in one place, but everywhere. Every form is God's form. This drishti. So this is the essence of this 9th chapter. This is the essence of the whole of the Gita. This is the essence of the whole Vaidika Dharma, Upanishads itself. There is nothing beyond to be told. Every chapter of the Gita is coming and concluding at this point. You will see this. 15th chapter concluded in the same vision. 13th with the same vision. 7th, 8th, 9th, now 10th, which we will take later, it will have the same vision. It's all Advaitamritam, the nectar of this non-dual vision, the vision that there is nothing existing apart from Brahman or Ishvara. So this is what Sri Krishna referred to as Raja Vidya, the greatest Vidya, the supreme science of reality, and which is also Raja Guhyam. Raja Guhyam means the greatest secret, because nobody knows about it. Secret is that which is not known to anyone. And this secret is now opened up. Krishna is opening up this secret and is showing everyone what is the supreme reality. So Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam. And this is Pavitram. What can be more purifying and sanctifying than this vision? And Pratyaksha-avagamam. Every word was important. The first 3 verses, Krishna is presenting to us the glory of this Vidya, which is Pratyaksha-avagamam. It is directly perceivable. He says it is directly perceivable. Shankaracharya says, as this. We use the term this to refer to anything which is in front of us. Krishna is saying that this supreme reality which we are talking about, it is so palpable. This is Brahman. This is all nothing but divine. That is the stress with which Krishna is speaking about Brahman. It is Pratyaksha Avagamam, directly realizable, straightly perceivable, provided your inner eyes is open. When our inner eyes becomes open, we begin to see the same reality everywhere. Pratyaksha Avagamam. And then he says, in that case, it must be very difficult. Something so great as this vision, definitely it must be very difficult. Sri Krishna is saying, Susukham kartum. It is very easy to practice. Now many of us may think, my God, Krishna is saying this is very easy to practice. Many people say, no, this is the most difficult thing. But it is easy to practice. There is no doubt about it. In fact, everything outside of this vision is actually complicated. We complicate matters. Dualism and all of the things are all compounding of the truth. It becomes complicated. And it's all compromises. We cook up many stories, imaginations, to justify our position. That can be done. But the plain, naked truth is always the simplest. And why it becomes difficult is only for one reason. I always say, what makes this vision difficult is only one thing: our inordinate attachment for this mithya jagat. That is the only thing which makes this point difficult. If we develop a little bit of detachment for this so-called mithya jagat, if we clearly understand the mithyatvam of this so-called, this whatever we are perceiving through the eyes, then this is really susukham kartum. The whole vision changes. So the first 3 verses of the 9th chapter, Sri Krishna is talking about the glory of this great vidya, which is the great secret, and it is directly perceivable, directly to be experienced by anyone who strives to do it, and it is easy to practice. And those who don't have faith in this, now it's a question of faith, Some people can reject this wisdom on the face itself. Oh, how is it possible, Swamiji? It's not possible. So those who have ashraddha, they will never get into it. So you need shraddha. So ashraddhadhana purushaha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartani. Those who don't have shraddha in this, what I am talking about, Krishna is saying, you see, if you don't have faith in what I am talking about, then you will be, the consequence of that is what? We once again fall back into this mortal plane of existence. And then now what is this great reality? The supreme reality that Krishna presents in 6 verses from verse 4 to 10. One of the finest presentations of the supreme reality. I think one of the most beautiful presentations. Krishna is saying, he is talking about apparently 2 things. There are actually no 2 things. This is the whole conclusion. There are no 2 here. It's all one. But apparently, as if there are 2 things. The connection between Brahman and the so-called, the second entity called world. That is very beautifully presented in verse 4, 5 and 6. Where Krishna says, you see, this Brahman, which is pure consciousness, is pervading this entire so-called second entity called Jagat. This Brahman, which is pure consciousness, it is pervading the so-called Mithya Jagat, the 3 states of waking, dream and sleep. All the 3 states are pervaded by this pure consciousness called Brahman. And how is it? Shankaracharya points out the very important point there. Now, the Brahman is pervading all these things means, is it really touching a second entity? There is no second entity actually existing which it can touch. So Brahman, without coming into contact with anything, it is as if it is pervading everything. Shankaracharya points out this point. There is no contact. When we talk about one thing pervading the other in our so-called worldly sense, where there are 2 things and one thing is pervading the other, then the thing which is pervading will definitely touch the second thing. So we should not come into the conclusion here as if Brahman is coming in touch with as if there is a second entity. That's an important point which Shankaracharya points out there. There is no contact. In the Upanishad, the beautiful terms comes in Mandukya Karika. Asparsha Yoga. This Vedanta is what? Asparsha Yoga. In which there is no sparsham, where there is no contact with the second thing. So Krishna is saying this Brahman is pervading the so-called second entity without actually coming in contact with anything. And the so-called second entity, which is world, it is fully dwelling in Brahman. It is dwelling in Brahman means what? Shankaracharya says, the so-called second entity is deriving its existence and reality from Brahman. It says, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina matsthani sarva bhutani. Everything is dwelling in me, Brahman. Everything is dwelling in me means what? Everything is deriving its existence and reality from me, the pure consciousness, Brahman. Without me, they don't have any existence. Just like Sri Ramakrishna says, without the one, the zeros have no meaning, no value at all. The zeros become valuable only because of the presence of one. Shankaracharya says, the meaning of this term that everything is dwelling in Brahman, it means that the so-called everything is appearing to be real owing to Brahman. It is deriving its reality and existence from Brahman. So, masthani sarva bhutani, nachaham teshu avasthita. Everything is dwelling in me, but I am not dwelling in anything. I cannot be contained by anything. Can this mithya jagat contain pure consciousness? Contain means limit. That pure consciousness called Brahman cannot be limited by anything. Nachaham teshu avasthita. Then Krishna says, Nachamasthani bhutani pashyame yogamaishwaram. Earlier he said that everything is dwelling in me. Now he is saying nothing is dwelling in me. What he wants to say is that there is nothing apart from me. There is no second entity existing apart from this Atman, this Brahman. The idea that a second entity is existing is only existing in avidya and ignorance. That is a great. In these three verses, Krishna has presented everything that the Vedas have to talk about. And he's saying, this is my yoga. Pashyame yogamaishwaram. Look at my mystery. As if there is a second entity which I am pervading, as if it is dwelling in me. What it means to say is that there is nothing existing apart from me that is pure consciousness. And what about the second entity? How is it being created? Maya Adhyakshena Prakritis. It says, then the 7th verse it says, Sarvabhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpado visrjamyaham prakritim swam avashtabhya visrjami punah punah bhutagramam imam krishnam avasham prakriter vashan nachamam tani karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya udasina vadasinam asaktam teshu karmasu Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat vipari vartate. These verses from 7 to 10. Now the second entity called world, how is it being created? Krishna wants to say that it is all creation of my own Maya. It's Maya Srishti. It is not Vastavika Srishti. It is not a real creation. It is a appearance created by Brahman's own Maya. Through my own Maya, by subjugating my Maya, I am bringing forth all the three states of waking, dream and sleep. Every day it is happening. It's a great Pashyame Yogamaishwaram. Look at my mystery. Now this waking state is there. A little while later this will disappear. Something else will emerge. Where is it emerging? In your consciousness. In Atman, in Brahman. It is happening every day. Now this auditorium is there. A little while later, this will all vanish. In your consciousness, something else will emerge. Then that also will go away. Then the third thing will emerge. There will be darkness, there will be blank, there will be condensed bliss. Again that will go, and this will again emerge. Where is this play of, where is all this emergence and dissolution taking place? Where? Which is that locus where all this emergence of the so-called world and disappearance of the world taking place? What is that locus? You are that locus from where all the three states are emerging, into which everything is getting dissolved. You means that pure consciousness, which is Brahman, which is Atman. And that is Brahman's Maya, which is making the three states appear and disappear. This is happening every day. It is happening with you, with me, everybody. This is the plain, naked truth. So Sri Krishna is saying here, Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshay. At the end of the cycle of the creation, all these bhutas, they go back to the root, Maya, Prakriti. And from that, they once again emerge. In this way, Bhuta Gramam Imam Krishnam Avasham Prakriter Vashat Prakritim Swam Avashtabhya Visrjami Punah Punaha. In this way, by subjugating my own Maya, Punah Punah, I am repeatedly making these things appear and disappear, appear and disappear, appear and disappear. In this Atman, the three states are appearing and disappearing through the Atman's own Maya, through Brahman's own Maya. And then Krishna says, in that case, is Brahman caught up in this whole activity? Is he trapped in this, his own action? No. Nachamam tani karmani nibaddhanti dhananjaya. This Atman is never trapped in the three states, which is the creation of its own Maya. Why? Udasina vadasinam asaktam teshu karmasu. Atman is always udasinam. Means it is just the witness. That is our true nature. Shankaracharya says the only cause of our getting bound is our identification with what is mithya. It's all the play of identification. When we become identified with the three states, which is Maya Srishti, we become bound. And when we realize our true nature, we will be seeing that. We are never trapped. No one is trapped in the three states which we are experiencing every day. Once again, let me repeat this point. No one, this very moment, Shankaracharya says repeatedly in his Upanishad Bhashyas, what a bold statement. In this very moment, everyone is free, provided you assert your real freedom, the freedom which comes from the Atman. The more you assert that, you will begin to feel it. It's right here, right now. You say you're free, you're free. You say you're bound, you'll be bound. This is a famous statement from Ashtavakra Gita. If you say you're free, you will experience freedom. If you say that I am bound, I am bound, I am bound, you will remain bound. The famous statement from Ashtavakra Gita, one of the finest books on Advaita Vedanta. So that's why constantly assert your freedom. Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, Nitya Mukta Atma. Who is bound here? No one is bound here. If you go back to your roots, no one is bound. We are eternally free. So this is the way to accomplish Khandana Bhavabandhana. What we are discussing is nothing but Khandana Bhavabandhana. Breaking away from this bondage, which is a creation of ignorance, nothing else. Right here, right now. That is the point. So in this way, from verses 6 to 10, from verses 4 to 10, it's all about the supreme reality called Brahman, which is non-dual, and the so-called second entity called world is the creation of its own Maya. And when we understand this, we will be attaining freedom right here, right now. Then comes a very famous, beautiful point. People who are deluded. Two types of people are there. Among the population, we have two kinds of people. One deluded, one enlightened. This is a very sweeping observation. Enlightened people and deluded people. Deluded people with all kinds of, wrong ideas about themselves and wrong idea about the world. A kind of a delusion. We are completely possessed by a kind of a delusion, and that governs our life, that governs our thinking pattern. That delusion governs our actions, our responses. So these deluded people, now see that Brahman through its own Maya appears in the form of this. Now that Brahman through its own Maya comes down in a very special form, an avatar. Deluded people, Sri Krishna says, failing to recognize this special manifestation, they would even insult or misbehave or disrespect the special manifestation of Brahman through its own Maya. avajananti ma mudha manushim tanumashrutam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Now I see that, now this is of course my observation, I feel that presently, definitely when a special manifestation like Avatara comes, very few people succeed in truly speaking, recognizing this Avatara. But why Avatara? That is a special manifestation, but this is also this manifestation of same Brahman. In delusion, we are disrespecting. Why only Avatara? We are disrespecting, insulting this manifestation of Brahman. So I don't think so we need to be just thinking about Avatara alone. This disrespecting, avagya, avajananti ma mudhaha. The deluded people who do avagya. Avagya means insulting, disrespecting. This is not only with the Avatara. According to pure Vedanta, everything is an Avatara. There is nothing special about anything. Swami Vivekananda would say, what other? This is the form of God. What else? Are we not disrespecting? Why only Avatara? This mistake of disrespecting, insulting God we are doing every moment, not only with Avatara. If we can look at everything as a manifestation of Brahman and God, then everything is an Avatara. Avatara, of course, see, let me be a little bit careful about this statement. There are two ways of looking at this thing. Definitely that special manifestation comes with huge power. We are an ordinary manifestation of Brahman. That special manifestation comes down with tremendous powers which we don't have. Nevertheless, everything is manifestation of Brahman. My stress is on that point. That special manifestation and the ordinary manifestation. Difference in power and Shakti. That comes with tremendous power. And that manifestation is illumined from birth itself. And we so-called ordinary manifestations, we are in ignorance. This difference is there. Nevertheless, Upanishad doesn't actually speaking stress on that so much. It wants us to understand that everything is divine. So be careful about the way you deal with the other person. This avagya which we are doing, it should not only be applied to the Avatara's case, which we should be applying it to our day-to-day so-called dealings with the other people. We are doing this avagya with so-called the other people in so many ways. Why? Because we are deluded. Mudhaha mam avajananti. Foolish people, they disrespect me, I who am in so many forms. This is what I want to say. Let us not just limit it to the Avatara's case. We are committing this mistake in our everyday life. This is all Brahman's form, Ishvara has so many forms. And we are committing this mistake of disrespecting them, insulting them in so many ways. So, avajananti ma mudha manushim tanumashritam. Special manifestation, ordinary manifestation. No matter what manifestation, they are all manifestations of Brahman and we are disrespecting them. Param bhavam ajanantu mama bhuta maheshwaram. Not knowing my true nature, I am here in so many forms. Not knowing me in this way, the deluded people, they are constantly insulting me, they are disrespecting me. It's a beautiful point it is. Then, what do the enlightened people do? If this is the case with the so-called deluded people, they constantly, they disrespect, they look down upon God manifested in so many forms. But what do the enlightened people? And one more thing. Such people who are disrespecting this God, as Swami Vivekananda said, leaving this God, which God are you looking for? This is the plain naked truth. Let me emphasize this point. This is the plain naked truth. Leaving aside this form and this God in so many forms, which God are we waiting for? And when we insult this God in this form, moghasha, moga karmano, moga jnana vichetasa, asurim, rakshasim, asurim chaiva, prakritim, mohinim shruta. When we do this, when we are insulting God in so many forms, the consequences of that is nothing. We become overpowered or overcome by demonic tendencies. And all our hopes become futile, fruitless. Our hopes become fruitless. Our actions become fruitless. Our knowledge becomes fruitless. Everything becomes fruitless. All our endeavors, they end up in fruitlessness. When we are constantly disparaging, disrespecting, insulting God which is standing in front of us, do you think your hopes are going to be fruitful? Do you think your knowledge is going to be fruitful? Do you think that your actions are going to be fruitful? It cannot. Beautiful. So thrilling. So true it is. That's why we have to develop that right vision. Ananyas Chintanam and Paryupasanam, not Avagya. See, the 9th chapter is so beautiful. Sri Krishna is telling us something very practical. Don't insult God who is standing in front of you. What are we supposed to do? Ananyas Chintanam, Ananyas Drishti and Paryupasanam. Not Avagya, but Upasanam, Paryupasanam. Now, this is the gist of this 9th chapter. So beautiful. And we should not be applying this Avajananti Ma Mudha only to that special manifestation. We are doing this with the general manifestation also. That is my point. Please don't misunderstand. There is a difference between the special manifestation and general manifestation. But what special and what general? They are all the manifestations of Brahman. Either way, it is Brahman in so many forms. And when you disrespect that, all your actions are going to be fruitless. Your hopes are going to be fruitless. Your knowledge is going to be fruitless. And the person becomes overpowered by demonic tendencies, and the consequences are there for him or her to see. So, the warning is Ananyas Chintanam and Paryupasanam. That should be our line of action in our day-to-day life. So beautiful. So, this is the case with the so-called deluded people. Deluded people, they insult God in so many forms. But what about the enlightened ones? Enlightened ones. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakriti mas ashritaha bhajanti ananya manaso. Again, ananya manasa. Everywhere. Ananyas chintanam. Ananyas manasaha. Ananya means there is no second apart from Ishvara. Enlightened people will say with ananya bhajanti mam ananya manasa. They will worship me. They will not insult God in so many forms. They won't be insulting God in so many forms. They will have a worshipful attitude towards the other person. Such a beautiful thing. Sri Krishna is telling something brilliant, practical. This is what is practical Vedanta, which Swami Vivekananda popularized. This is what is practical Vedanta. See God with the open eyes, understand that it is one God in so many forms, and worship of God here. What is in front? The person who is standing in front of you is the most important person for the time being. It is God in that form. Do not insult it. Have a worshipful attitude towards that person and then see. This is the way of the enlightened ones. Insulting others is the way of the deluded ones. That is what Krishna is saying. So see, this is all meant for us to check where we are committing mistakes, whether our vision is right or not. If our vision is wrong, correct our vision, correct our behavior. This is all meant to correct ourselves, improve ourselves. This is how we evolve in our day-to-day life. Beautiful. Then, so deluded people and enlightened people. That is verses 13 to 15. We have seen that. Then from 16 to 19. Verses 16 to 19, it deals with the Sarvatmakata of Brahman. Sarvatmakata of Brahman means the Brahman in so many forms. Brahman in so many, whatever we are experiencing, it is all Brahman in so many forms. This is what is given in verses 16 to 19. Aham kraturaham yagyaha swadhaham aham aushadham mantroham ahame vajyam aham agni aham hutam pitahamasya jagato mata datha pitamaha vedyam pavitram onkara riksama yajurevacha katir bharta prabhu sakshi nivasa sharanam surut prabhava pralayasthanam nidhanam bijam avyayam. All these verses, beautiful. The essence of all these verses is only one. It is one Brahman in so many forms. There is no other meaning to whatever we are experiencing here. All other meaning apart from this is only in delusion. That is what Krishna wants to emphasize. Every other thing which we have in our mind, it is only the outcome of delusion. When enlightenment comes, when our inner vision, inner eye opens up, then the vision will be this. It is all one Brahman, Ishvara in so many forms. Beautiful. Prabhava pralayasthanam nidhanam bijamapyam tapami aham varsham nigranham yotsrujami cha amrutam chaiva mrityuscha sadasachaham arjuna. I am everything. In those 4 verses from 16 to 19, Krishna wants to say that I am everything. Now, this idea will continue in the 10th chapter, which we shall take up in the next season from July onwards. 10th chapter we shall start. It's a beautiful chapter. The whole of the 10th chapter has got only one thing to say. Whatever we are experiencing here, it's all that Brahman's glory, Vibhuti. It's all Brahman's power, Brahman's glory. There's nothing else. Brahman in so many forms. Beautiful. The same idea continues there. So the verses 16 to 19, they deal with this idea that everything is Brahman and Brahman alone. Again, those who don't have this vision that everything is Ishvara, those who think that this is world and God is something else, and those who have desires for the things of the world, what happens? Traividyamam somapas bhutapapa yagyairištva swargatim prarthayanti te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan devabhogan te tam bhuktva swargalokam vishadam shine punye martyalokam vishanti evam trai dharmam anuprapanna gata gatam kama kama labhati. The 2 verses, the consequences of having desires, Shankaracharya says, the consequences of having desires, that is the point. When you have kamana, kamana is the biggest so-called hurdle in enlightenment. When we have worldly desires, then there cannot be enlightenment. Nishkamata and enlightenment are the same things. Kamana and delusion, they go together. So those people who have kamana for the things of the world, those who have desires for the things of all worldly things, they have to face this consequence. What is the consequence? They are repeatedly, in Shankaracharya's, that beautiful, his characteristic way of conveying this consequence of being attached to the world, the consequence of having desires for the things of the world is only one. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jataresha, iha samsari, kadutustari, kripaya pari, pahimurari. Therefore, bhaja govindam, govindam bhaja murdhamate, samprate sannihite marane nahi rakshati tunkrinkarne. Therefore, my children, give up these desires for the things of the world and bhaja govindam. Bhaja govindam means strive to know the truth. Nothing else. Bhaja govindam means what? Strive to know your own true nature. Atman, Brahman. That's all. Death is standing in front of us. The things of the world are not going to save us. It is this striving to know one's own true nature alone which can save you, which can give you tremendous anchoring. Saving means what? To find one's own anchor inside. Sri Ramakrishna says, your boat is not going to move as long as it is anchored, is it not? A boat which is anchored is steady. You take it in that way. An anchored ship, even when storm comes, it is anchored. It won't be going astray. Similarly, we have to find our real anchor. And that real anchor is inside. A person who has found his or her real anchor becomes immovable. He or she becomes kutastha, absolutely unshakable. That is the outcome of this knowledge. Steadiness, stability, everything comes. Sthirata comes when we become established in this vision of truth. So anyway, there Sri Krishna in the 2 verses he said, you see, the people who have desires for the things of the world, they have to repeatedly come back to this mortal plane. But what about the other people, the enlightened ones, the true devotees, those who don't have any desires, what about them? Krishna says, Ananyasyantayanto ma, ye jana paryupasate, tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. The context of this verse anyway, I don't want to go into the details. Shankaracharya had beautifully said, you see, yes, if you become totally desireless, then how is that your so-called body at the transactional plane, how is it going to be protected? If you become totally desireless, how then who is going to take care of the so-called this? As long as this body is there, it needs some basic things. That was the context of that discussion. So Krishna is giving the answer. A person who has become desireless and who is having ananyas chintanam and paryupasana, means who has completely united himself with the Supreme Reality. Tesham nityabhiyuktanam, nitya abhiyukta. A person who has become fully united with the Supreme Reality, for that person, his basic requirements will be taken care of by me. He doesn't have to worry about that. What a great assurance. Yogakshemam vahamyaham. It's a famous utterance. And Sri Krishna's Bhagavad Gita is full of such great utterances, assurances. I don't think so anywhere else you will find. Amazing assurance. So don't worry. Ma shuchaha. What is that to worry? I am there. The last 18th chapter he says, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vaja. Again, everywhere you come, get united with me. Aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. I will free you from all your papas, your sins. Why are you worrying? Don't carry the burden of your past on your head. Offer everything at my feet. Don't worry. Ma shuchaha. Aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. What a beautiful verse. In this 9th chapter, Krishna says, Name bhaktah pranashyati. My devotee will never perish. My devotee means what? One who has connected himself with me in a non-separate sense. That devotee will never become ruined. He or she will never become perished. Great assurances coming from Sri Krishna. Anyhow, so this is the beautiful verse here where Krishna says, this bhakta who is nityabhiyukta and who is having this ananya drishti and who is doing paryupasanam, his basic requirements, because he has got no any worldly desires, his basic requirements will be fulfilled by me. It's my responsibility. He doesn't have to worry about that. So beautiful. Tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So beautiful. And then comes a few verses. Now, those who don't worship this way, but they worship all other different gods and goddesses, the lower deities, for selfish purposes, they face the respective consequences. So, Krishna gives us a principle there. Yanti devavritam devan, pitrin yanti pitrivritaha, bhutani yanti bhutejyaha, madhyajinopimam, yanti madhyajinopimam. People who worship this deity, that deity, or lower deities, they will be attaining to those lower planes of existences. But those who worship me, they will come to me. This is the simple principle, always. Whatever we think, we become that. Whatever we connect ourselves with, we attain that. If we connect ourselves with the things of the world, you attain that. But if we connect ourselves with the divine, we attain that. That is the principle. So everything boils down to this principle, what you are connecting yourself with through your thoughts. All these connections are in thoughts. This is not a physical connection. Everything is happening at the plane of thought. As you think, so you become. Through thoughts, you are connected. If you really think this is a world, then you are connected with the world. You attain the world. If your vision is right, when you see this is God's form, you are instantly connected with God, this very moment. The consequences of that is different. It's all right here and right now. The idea of God will come. It may be good for many people in the beginning, but as we grow in spiritual life, there's no question of God coming. We are constantly soaked in God. I always say, we are soaked in God. This very moment, just like you soak a cloth in water, is it not? Just imagine, you can visualize, you are soaking a cloth in water. Similarly, we are all, every jiva is soaked in Brahman. There cannot be any other position. This is the plain, naked truth. This is meditation. What is meditation? This very moment, this is the plain reality. Everything else we are just imagining. This very moment, close your eyes and imagine you are fully soaked in consciousness. There cannot be any experience without consciousness. We are all soaked and drowned in God and God alone. This very moment. It's a plain, naked truth. So if we keep on believing that somebody will come, somebody will come, somebody will come, it's okay. You do that. But the true religion teaches us it's. This is why Sri Ramakrishna says, tie the knowledge of Advaita to the corner of your cloth and then lead your life. This is why Sri Krishna is saying, Ananyas Chintanam and Pariupasanam. Do Ananyas Chintanam and then lead your life. Gaudapadacharya, Shankaracharya, everyone says the same thing. First, get the right vision and then lead your life. Get the right vision and then lead your life. Upanishads, the first principle Upanishad says this. Ishavasimidam sarvam. Then lead your life. Tena tektena bhunjita. Exactly. The first principle Upanishad declares everything is divine. Develop this vision, give up the wrong vision, and then lead your life. The first mantra of the principle Upanishad, Isha Upanishad, says this. Get this right vision that everything is divine, and then lead your life. Tena tyaktena. Give up your wrong vision. Protect your right vision. Shankaracharya says, protect this right vision, and then lead your life. It's all the same. So, and all this is happening at the level of the mind. It is all happening at the level of your mind. Develop the right vision and see a tremendous transformation here, now itself. Fear, insecurity, tensions and stresses, sorrowness, sadness, everything comes from wrong vision. When the right vision comes, all these things will begin to evaporate. It has to evaporate. That's why Bhagavad Gita says, Nahi jnanena sadrasham pavitram iha vidyate. There is nothing more powerful and purifying than this jnanam. Jnanam means what? Samyak drishti, the right drishti, which Upanishads alone gives, which comes only from the Upanishads, from no other source. This right vision that this is all Brahman, nothing but everything is soaked in Brahman. All the three states are soaked in Brahman. Where is this waking state hanging? It is soaked in Brahman, Atman. Where is the dream state hanging? It is soaked in Brahman and Atman. Where are we sleeping every day? Every day we go into deep sleep. We are soaked in Anandam, Brahman, here, right now. Is this not a fact? Every day we go to deep sleep, full of condensed bliss. We are fully drowned in Brahman, Atman. Is God going to come? If this vision comes, and this has to be applied in our waking state then. After analyzing these experiences, human experiences, we should then begin to apply it to our day-to-day life in the waking state. Apply it here itself. God is not going to come. We are right inside God, soaked in God. Now see what happens. No reason for worrying. No reason for any complaint. No reason for any sadness, moroseness. No reason for fear, anxiety, tension, sleeplessness. This person will snore actually, I always say. He will sleep nicely. Why? The greatest consolation is that, what is not for a one moment I am disconnected with God. Actually, no one is disconnected with God. It cannot be. Disconnection with God is only an imagination. Again, I repeat this point. To feel disconnected with God is only happening in imagination. No one, not one speck of dust can be disconnected with Brahman. It's not possible. Let us develop this conviction. Not a speck of dust. What to talk about living beings? Nothing is disconnected with Brahman. When this conviction comes, you see, the whole thing changes. The vision changes, the quality of life changes. Everything is fine then. Beautiful. And without this, there is no end to human problems. Without this, there is no end to human problems. So this is the vision, Ananya's Chanta. Anyway, so then the last 4 verses comes. So in all these beautiful last 4 verses, now this is the supreme knowledge taking the form of pure bhakti. Now what will be the bhakti? Sri Krishna talks about 2 kinds of bhakti. One will be temple-centered, other will be everywhere. A temple, a puja room-centered kind of a bhakti will be what? Patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam. Yo me bhaktya prayachati. Tasyaham bhakti uparatam. Ashnami prayatatmanaha. So beautiful. So both, we can do both. A temple-centered worship in which you have a small shrine in your house. You have your Ishta Devata, Brahman's form. Your Ishta Devata is Brahman's form. Everything is Brahman's form, but you can, for your convenience, you can have a beautiful form. And how do you worship? No adambaram, no ostentation, no pomp, no noise, nothing. Simple. Offer one leaf, one flower, little bit of water. The main thing is what? Bhakti uparatam. A heart which is overflowing with devotion. Devotion coming from that samyak drishti. Ananyas chintanam and devotion, they go together. Beautiful. Ananyas chintanam, there is nothing existing apart from God. And a heart overflowing with this devotion. With that heart, one is offering one simple, one leaf, one tulsi leaf. Sri Krishna says, I accept it wholeheartedly. This is the temple-centered kind of worship. Then, coming out of that, when you come to your day-to-day life, yat karoshi, yad ashnasi, yat juhoshi, tatasi, yat tapasyasi kaunte, yat tat kurushva madarpanam. This is pariupasana. Whatever I am doing means what? It's all in Brahman. Where are we sitting? This person is talking. Where is this act of talking taking place? It's completely soaked in Brahman. Yat karoshi. It's all soaked in Brahman. When we eat food, who is taking food? It's Brahman. Yad ashnasi, yat karoshi, yat juhoshi. Whatever you're doing, it's all happening in Brahman. We are soaked in Brahman. Tat kurushva madarpanam. This is the way. When we know that it is all happening soaked in Brahman, you are doing everything to samarpanam. This is also that beautiful verse coming in the 4th chapter where we, every day at the time of having food, we chant it. But how many of us really mean it? I don't know. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivatena gantavya, Brahmakarma samadhi. Means everything is soaked in Brahman. That's the point. What is not soaked in Brahman? The food is soaked in Brahman. The eater is soaked in Brahman. With this attitude, we have to eat. Now see, the whole thing is, this is what is spiritualizing everyday life. This is what is practical Vedanta. So yat karoshi. So worship, temple-centered, and worship which is not centered anywhere. It is all-centered. Temple-centered worship and one is all-centered worship. Life itself is an act of worship. Yadyat karma karomi tat tadakhilam shambho tava aradhanam. As Vedavyasa says in his Shiva Manasa Puja Stotram. Whatever I am doing here, it's all, hey Shiva, it's all your aradhana. Beautiful, that's a different sloka, beautiful. So, that was the 2 kinds of worship which Sri Krishna talked about. And the last 4 verses are the verses which tell us the glory of bhakti. This kind of bhakti, devotion, see? Ananyas chintanam and paryupasana. Sri Krishna says the glory of bhakti is such that even the worst sinners will be redeemed. Apiche suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhag. Even the worst sudurachari, not only durachari, sudurachari, means worst, horrible things. But what? It's all happening in ignorance. But if the person has changed, Sri Krishna says, we should consider that person to be a good person. If that person has really changed, if that person has really transformed himself, he has given up his old bad deeds, we should look upon that person as a good human being. That large-heartedness should be there. We should forgive. Forgive and forget. Not simply get fixated on the negative. This fixation on the negative things is the disease of the human mind. The mind is always fixated on the negative. Let us fix it on the positive. The person has changed. Sadhu reva samantavya. We should consider that person to be a sadhu. Why? Samyak vyavasito hisaha. He has resolved properly. Now he has taken a right resolution that I won't do those bad things. And now I shall practice bhakti. This bhakti will redeem even this worst kind of a person. That is what he says. The last 4 verses, it is all the glory of this jnana adharita bhakti. All those verses. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat chantim nigacchati. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. What an assurance. Even the worst person, if he or she has resolved properly, if he or she has decided to practice bhakti, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma, immediately he will become a dharmatma, he will become a righteous person. And shashvat shantim nigacchati, he or she will experience the real bliss, shashvat shantim, the peace, the genuine peace. And then Krishna is telling Arjuna, hey Arjun, you do one thing. Krishna is telling Arjuna, hey Arjun, you please do one thing for me. Stand up and proclaim it to the world. The language is so beautiful. The Guru is telling the disciple, my dear, you please do one thing for me. Proclaim it to the world from the top of your voice. Name bhaktaha pranashyati. My devotee will never perish. What an assurance. It gives me goosebumps. Anyone who has found his connection with Ishvara, na pranashyati, he cannot be ruined, he cannot perish. So beautiful. Na me bhakta pranashyati. Everyone should remember this point. What is that to be afraid of in this life? Provided we have resolved correctly and we have found the right connection. Bhakti. Provided we are the true bhaktas, there is nothing to fear in this world. Nothing to worry about. There is no room for any worry. If we worry in life, that means we don't have faith in God. When we are worrying, that means we have no faith in God. If we really have faith in this idea that we are soaked in Brahman, there cannot be any room for worry. It is impossible. These are two totally contradictory positions. Anyone who has got true Shraddha that we are soaked in Brahman God this very moment, tell me, is there any room for worry? It is not possible. Because we lack that Shraddha, that is why we are worrying. Ki hobe, ki hobe, ki hobe, ki hobe. Obar kiya che. What is there to happen? What will happen? What will happen? This is the disease of the human mind. So, these are the beautiful things. So beautiful chapter, this 9 chapters. Amazing. So, name bhakta pranashyati. And anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. Krishna is saying, give up this fascination for this anitya jagat and worship me. I, Brahman, Atman. Seek me. Be established in me. What you are seeing is only an appearance. The true stuff is here. Therefore, manmana bhava. Manmana bhava. Let your mind be fully soaked in this Atman Brahman. Madbhakto. Worship me everywhere. Madbhakta. Madhyaji. Offer everything, do everything with me as a center. Know that everything is soaked in Brahman, Atman. Mam namaskuru. Bow down to me in so many forms. Try to see the same Atman everywhere. Mameva eshyasi. You will attain to me. This very moment. See, God, is it God centered in temple? Is Sri Krishna talking about a God centered in temple? Or any one particular form? Upanishads, Gita, Bahurupe Sammukhe Tumar. God standing in front of us in so many forms, leaving this which God are you waiting for? This is the point. Mameva eshyasi. If you really hold on to this position that these are all forms of God, you will attain to God. This very moment. Mameva eshyasi. Yuktva evam. Having become united me in this way, by seeing God everywhere, you will attain to me. Vatparayanaha. You who have made me the goal, the ultimate goal, you will be attaining to me and me alone. So this is the beautiful 9th chapter. The takeaway of this chapter, the summary of this chapter is only one. Ananyas chintanam and pariupasanam. That's all. That chintan should go on, that there is nothing existing. Whatever I am seeing, it's all Brahman in so many forms. And then striving to worship Brahman everywhere, Atman everywhere, God everywhere. This is the takeaway of the 9th chapter. This is what Krishna referred to as the greatest knowledge and the greatest secret. Raja Vidya and Raja Guhya. That is this great Raja Vidya and Raja Guhya Yoga, which Sri Krishna presented to humanity through his 9th chapter. Let us stop here. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat.